Welcome back to Preparing for the Unexpected. Today we are talking with Regina Phelps about cyber response related issues. Regina, great first and second segment there, sharing lots of great ideas and thoughts here. Now, I wanted to touch on testing, but you call it something else.
Yeah, so that's a really great point. So I don't like the word testing in general. So if you any of my exercise books, I always talk about that it's exercises, not testing, because many times people do think like, oh my God, you're going to issue me a grade at the end. And I don't,
Yeah.
I don't like to have that anxiety. But what I've discovered is that so just because we actually have been successful in getting the 5 areas identified we want to work on. So we're going to pick 5, and we talked about 5 possibilities. Then I want to identify, well, who are those people that are going to come together in that first moments or first few hours? Then I give them the assignment. Okay, great. We've identified the people. Great. Okay, we know they're going to come together. Then we identified the 5 things we want to work on. Great. Then what we're going to do is I say, your homework assignment is you must develop your checklist of what you think needs to happen in that first 24 hours. And it's really what you think you're doing. But then what they do is often, as you would described earlier, is I'm going to make sure that communications issues communications, or they start overlapping. So the goal is that they prepare their checklists, and I've discovered that this works best if you do this like in 90 minutes. So you pick one topic for that 90-minute, and that's all we're going to do. And then we do these over a period of few weeks, and we do get through all 5 of them. But the idea is that you learn from the first one, then they go away. They clean it up, they talk about it, and then you'll find that the checklist probably changed for the next one you're going to do based on the experience they just had. And so what I do is I discovered that if you call it an exercise, people are just anxious even it's not called a test, it's not an exercise, it's a workshop. So that implies work and you're just hanging out, right? So it's a different vibe, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like using exercising versus testing, but most people don't understand when you try to separate them. So I always say, okay, we're testing plants and processes, we're exercising people. Okay.
Mhm.
How's that? They go, oh, okay, now I understand. So
Well, I find that because of what you're doing is not really an exercise nor a test, it really is a workshop, and it makes people
yeah.
a little more willing to play. Because what I make them do actually is I make them literally display. So I give them a brief little like 5-sentence narrative on a topic, like deep fakes or something like that. And then I say, okay, great. Who's going to go first? Alex, what's your checklist? And Alex, then you have to show it to us, not just read from it here. You have to show it. Okay, great. Wonderful. Okay, let's just go to the next person. Okay, Regina, what's your checklist? And then we go all around. Okay, now did you notice in our checklist things that might have been missing and so we begin to then say, well, yeah, Alex said he wanted to make sure that communications got issued, but that's mine. I'm the comms person. So then we sort of, well, blah, blah, blah. And so then what you do is that you look at everything, then you're going to ask the question, is there duplications? Have we missed something? Kind of what else is going on here? Let's just talk. And so what it does, it allows them to actually understand in real time what we're actually going to be doing. Oh my God. Now that sounds so simple, but the first time I did it, it was like the epiphany of all time in the room. And I thought, Regina, you're making too many assumptions about your clients, thinking that they talk to each other, because they don't. Right?
Because some people think that it's always any response is we do A, we do B, we do C, we do D. But sometimes somewhat A takes forever to do that B, C, D, and E have to start sooner. So everyone's thinking,
Right.
you do that, then I do this. And
That's not how it works. It's not
yeah.
how it works. Many things we're doing, once we make a decision that this is the problem and this is what's going to be happening, we have a bunch of things that happen all at once.
Yeah.
Just because of the nature of the lane we are in, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's really, that's where like the epiphany begins to happen right away. And then we begin to understand, oh my God, I didn't realize Alex did that. And that's when all of a sudden things start to shift. Now, I've also done this where we've invited third-party vendors. And the most common third-party vendors include the following. So the insurance company, the external general counsel, and the external communications support. So those three entities, I probably would do the first 1 or 2 workshops maybe before I would invite them, so you could work out some basic stuff so that you wouldn't
Get
look
your own
so,
house in order type thing.
yeah, a little bit, yeah. Because otherwise you want them to go like, oh my God, the insurance company is going to be thinking like, no, sure, these people. But that's really important, right? So, and I have found that people have actually really, I'll use the word even, enjoyed the opportunity and not even understanding how many assumptions everybody was making. And I have found these little workshops, 90 minutes, it's plenty of time, nothing, no complicated narrative, and it opens up everybody's eyeballs in ways that I would have not imagined. So I find that really helpful. Yes.
I'm just gonna say, what are some of the bigger surprises with the third parties, though?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that really leads to a fun topic, which is insurance. Because many people, oh my God, do not understand what their insurance does or doesn't do, or really what they require. And so one of the things, for example, when we design crisis management teams, we ask them that when developing out the team, there's always a finance section, and I need somebody who knows the insurance. I need somebody in cyber in particular that deeply knows the insurance. Because cyber insurance are, and I don't know if you've looked at any policies of your clients in the last couple of years, but oh my God, they have changed. And part of that is because of the sheer number of attacks that have been going on. And so now there are tons of requirements, tons of what you can do and not do, who you have to use, when they have to be notified, who does what first. And so if you don't understand the policy, if you don't have somebody that can actually in a crisis management team regurgitate the policy to you, most people don't think about that because they think of like a fire and casualty or something like that, where the requirements are very minimal. But in a cyber insurance now, they are pretty darn specific with timestamps, vendors that you can use, things you can do, things you can't do, getting a breach coach, who actually negotiates everything, blah, 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 blah. And if you don't meet any one of those issues, your insurance can be null and void. And so the time to figure that out is not before, and it's not during the crisis, it's before, and that we should all understand it. So that's what been a huge understanding for a lot of people in this exercise or these workshops that we do. So that's the kind of thing that I would ask for. And so I will tell you that they have been very, very helpful. So we would do the workshop, and then I'll often have a little meeting before we actually do this with these third-party vendors and say, I would like you at the end of it to really maybe share with them some of your thoughts. And maybe the insurance company could say like, well, you didn't do X or Y. That could have cost you. That could have been an issue. I want them to have that understanding deeply about what could happen if they don't follow those things. And so the insurance one is really important. And I've discovered that most of the carriers are very happy to play.
I would hope so.
Yeah. I mean, well, they're trying to save money, their money, obviously, but they're trying to save money. They're trying to make sure that customers are actually doing the right thing. And I think they've really enjoyed the opportunity to partake in that. Outside counsel can be also very helpful because they might be whispering in the ear of the general counsel. That's part of our conversation. And the same thing for external comms. They can also maybe have had more experience in this matter than your internal comms have had. And so they can really help with the deciding about exactly how to put things together. So it can be super helpful. So in the first 1 or 2, I probably wouldn't invite the outside people just because you want to have as we talked about, it's sloppy and you want them to clean it up a little bit.
And I guess having those third parties, insurance and external legal counsel or external communications, there's going to be assumptions in there as well, made about
Yes,
them and that maybe they have about you
yes,
as well. So you have your own internal assumptions, but then you've got assumptions that are outside of your organization. And
absolutely.
this would help.
Yes. And what that does do is, I mean, it's like that, you know, in any crisis, it becomes the fog of war, right? We're
Mhm.
all kind of thinking we know what's going to go on and what's going to happen, and who does what, blah, 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 blah. And it's when you only have at the event that you all sit down, you're looking at each other's eyeballs and like, oh my God, you don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I found is it makes a huge, huge difference. So I would say to all of our colleagues, you know, pick 5 topics that are the most common things you're scared to death about. Figure out who the people are that are going to come together at the very beginning, which might be very different than your average crisis management process. Then what we're going to do is that we're going to have that, you know, we're going to look at our checklists individually for each one of those items. And we are going to then walk through it and make sure we're really clear about who does what. After you've done 1 or 2 of those, bring in some outside parties and like your insurance outside counsel and outside comms, and really have them, you know, pick and prod as well.
Mhm.
And then what you want to do is after you've done those 5 things is that periodically you're going to want to review those. And as other things come up, you're going to want to review those too. It's an iterative process. I mean, all the work we do is iterative. We know that. But this one is really because things are changing so rapidly in this space and, you know, driven by primarily nation states and organized crime who are making a lot of money.
Yes. Yeah, there's been quite a few headlines in the last little while about scams and things like that, where they've made tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars off of people and organizations that are falling for them.
Yep. Yeah. It really is horrifying. It really is horrifying. And I don't think it's going to get any better. And you know, what really allowed this business, if you will, to prosper has been when Bitcoin was invented, if you will. And there's this sort of technically a non-traceable link between that cash and the person who gets it. And that provided like, woohoo, well, man, we can do anything now because we can get the money and they don't know who we are and blah, blah, blah. And I do understand that there's ways that they can track back some of it, but still there's that big chance that you're going to be able to get away with all of it.
Yeah. We have just over a minute left. Do you have any final thoughts to share?
Well, I would just say to all of our colleagues, this is really important work. It's really important to your executive team. It's really important to the health and you know, well-being of your entire organization, your job. This is really important work. And I think what I would say to you is that you listen to what we've talked about here today and that you kind of write this up and really talk it up and then see if you can get some buy-in and with some key leaders and don't waste any time. Get on it.
Yeah. And on that note, we've come to the end of the show. Regina, thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
I enjoyed this going back and forth today. Though I have to say I am shocked we had no slides.
Well, you know, I like to be, you know, kind of different from time to time. It's like, yeah, just talk. Thanks
Yeah,
again, Alex.
enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Regina.
You're
And
welcome.
everyone watching and listening, stay prepared, everybody. If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.